Penguin Random House presents Love Knows No LOC by Arpit Vageria. Read by Arish Bhiwandiwala. Chapter 1. April 17. Some love stories seem to have been written in the stars. They seem to have received the benediction of some higher forces. However, make no mistake. Just like the moon might appear to be a flawless orb of white light from far away, but when peered through the powerful lens of a telescope, one finds that its face is rather pockmarked. So it is with these seemingly perfect love stories. Their timeline is marred by numerous episodes of hatred too. And what accounts for these dents? Do we really need to be incited or a trigger to hate someone? Could it maybe be because we just love to hate, because hatred is ingrained in us as love is, and we simply act on our impulses? Is it simply a rule that we follow, like India and Pakistan? As Kabeer settled into his seat on the flight, memories of his last meeting with Zoya came flooding back. This was the last leg of his tour. It was also his last chance to restore the selectors' faith in him and secure a place for himself in India's international cricket team. On his way from the airport to the hotel, in the bus with his other teammates, he read his last WhatsApp chat with her over and over again, until the bus drew up at the Taj Hotel in Mumbai. Even though he wanted to stay completely focused on the game to avoid disappointing his city, as he had done the last time, his thoughts repeatedly drifted to Zoya. He wondered where she was, whether she had fallen in love with someone else, or worse, forgotten Kabeer like a bad past and moved on. There's enough time to watch an entire movie when commuting through Mumbai's gridlocked traffic, he thought. He wasn't aware of how long he had been listening to the playlist fed into his earphones. It had already been repeated twice or thrice. All were tracks sung by Zoya. He remembered her telling him that every song she sang was inspired by him, and that she had conceptualized these lyrics in his very presence. That made him feel special. Kabeer barely noticed the crowd of fans waiting outside the hotel, holding up placards with his name on it. The girls in the crowd frantically waved to catch his attention. Some of them were wearing masks with his face painted on them, all for one smile in return. A hand on his shoulder shook him out of his reverie. Arko was a teammate from Team India A, playing for Mumbai Riders in the T20 tournaments. He nodded to Kabeer, indicating that it was time to disembark. Kabeer felt a tightness in his throat. He quickly looked around, hoping no one had noticed his emotional state. Arko stared at Kabeer as he saw him sniffling and wiping his nose. "This is affecting your game, Kabeer. However, I've seen you in worse phases before. You can snap out of this as well." "I'm just not used to being without Zoya," Kabeer said gruffly, picking up his rucksack and moving down the aisle of the bus. "You just have to get used to living without people who don't belong with you in the first place," whispered Arko over his shoulder. "She was mine." "She is a Pakistani," Arko said flatly. "So? She was a habit. You'll get over her. After what she did to you, you didn't have any other choice. There were a million things that you could have done, but you did the right thing." Kabeer took a moment to register his words. "Don't blame yourself, Kabeer," Arko encouraged. "It wasn't your fault." Kabeer smiled. At times, when one has nothing to say, one falls back on meaningless gestures, such as forced smiles, handshakes, or even emoticons, hoping against hope that they would be adequate to convey one's feelings to the other person. "Oh, you don't have to do that." "What?" "Smile forcibly. But there's one thing that you shouldn't mind doing," Arko said and unzipped his bag, taking out a pair of sunglasses. "If the audience finds out that a big hitter of Team India A is a crybaby, it might hurt your fan following. Go on, put these on." He held out the shades. "And step out like you do on the field with a big smile. This is your comeback match." As they stepped out into the hazy, humid air of Mumbai, all Kabeer could see was a blur of faces, all hollering his name, desperately trying to touch him and find a way to quickly click a selfie or two. Kabeer kept pace with his team as they made their way to the hotel lobby. The players were received with fanfare as a dozen dhols were beaten in their honor. The paparazzi quickly surrounded Kabeer with a fusillade of questions. He thought he espied a familiar face in the crowd, an unpleasant someone from his past. He was perturbed as a feeling of gloom descended on him. Arco's shades were a perfect foil for the turbulence of his emotions, and he found himself slipping back into thoughts of Zoya. "Kabeer, are you still in touch with Zoya?" asked the journalist, shoving a mic into his face. Kabeer ignored the question and continued walking. "Kabeer, are you still in a relationship with that Pakistani?" The same man rephrased the question. Fury surged through Kabeer, but he clamped down on it. "Kabeer, are you still in touch with that terrorist?" That was it. Kabeer lost his rag and leapt at the man in a blind rage. 3 security guards rushed in to intercede. In the ensuing chaos, Kabeer punched the journalist, while all around him numerous cameras clicked and whirred to record the spectacle. The press got its scoop for the day. This incident would go viral and become fodder for weeks to come. His teammates looked embarrassed and disappointed. The coach was understandably livid, while the fans looked confused and appalled. In a matter of 60 seconds, they went from cheering to booing him. 2 minutes later, the world would know that Kabeer had lost his temper again. 3 minutes later, the cricket board would expel him from the next match. And 5 minutes later, he would discover that the sloppy housekeeping service had missed emptying out one of the drawers in his room, thereby accidentally leaving a ray of hope for him in it. Although it was night time, the sky had taken on a tint of silver for Kabeer as he leaned on that faint optimism. From the balcony of his sea-view room, he gazed at the crowd beneath gradually dispersing and wondered if his fans would ever forgive him, or maybe even go as far as to empathize with him. But there's only so much one can expect from people. Nobody can restore lost loved ones or help undo one's mistakes. The only way forward is to strive for it ourselves. Chapter 2, May 16. On a Friday evening, Kabeer found himself on a bus along with some of the top players of the country. As he looked around, he realized that he had shared the field with most of these players at one point or another. But this was the first time he was going to play with them as a team at an international level. He sat back, relaxed, and did a mental recap of the extraordinary turn of events that had bagged him this golden opportunity. 2 days ago, the BCCI had called to offer Kabeer a chance to play in the place of Rishabh Pandey, who had suffered an unfortunate injury. Pandey was one of the best all-rounders in the team. Kabeer was determined to give his best today and not let his teammates down. Gunfire could be heard at a distance, but Kabeer remained unmoved. He was aware that these were unlike the ones 7 years ago. Celebratory gunshots in anticipation of this friendly match in Lahore between India and Pakistan. He recalled the Lahore terror attack of 2009, when a bus full of Sri Lankan cricketers, along with several Pakistani policemen and civilians, was ambushed, and many of those on board were injured, maimed, and some even killed. Considering his loathing for the country, its principles and politics, it was ironic that Kabeer's international debut was in Pakistan. As he gazed out at the passing scenery through the bus window, he saw countless people going about their daily routines. Although he couldn't hear them through the double-glazed windows and the roar of their large bus, he knew that they were speaking with each other in a language that he could easily comprehend. Expecting to feel alien in an unfamiliar environment, Kabeer was startled by his strange empathy towards this foreign land and taken aback by its uncanny similarity to his homeland. The same shops, the roads generously freckled with potholes, gigantic posters of political leaders, and traffic rules that were flagrantly violated. What would have happened had the partition never taken place?
Sample complete. Ready to continue?